Yeah! So that's the new song. It's pretty fucking cool, man. It's actually, I played it twice just because it's kind of short. So I let it go through a couple of times, and yeah. So that's going to be the theme for the mid-boss, which the reason why I wrote the song was because I've already implemented the mid-boss. So you needed a song, something different than your regular battle music, but also not the boss music, because the boss music is meant for just the boss battles. So yeah, I had to come up with this, and this is what I did, and actually, I don't like this one. Like, it's not my favorite. It's not, I don't like it as much as some of the other songs I've written. Definitely like the song I started the stream with last time. The main theme. Really fucking love that one. That one I'm stoked especially proud of. But this one, not so much. It's, you know, I'm not feeling it as much. Like, okay, that's kind of wrong. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I've listened to this song a lot. Just like the boss theme where I said, you know, that song is addicting. Like, it's kind of the same here. Like, I guess you would say it's catchy. I wouldn't normally use catchy in this way, but I guess that's the best way to describe it. It's not that it's my most favorite song, but I still really like to listen to it. So, yeah. Anyways, this is the only song I wrote this week, but I also did a lot of sound design stuff as well. So, just like last time I did a bunch of sound design stuff, I'm not gonna go over all of it, but maybe we'll see some of it as it comes up. Let me go ahead and get RPG Maker open so we can take a look, because there's been a lot of progress that has been made, just like last time. Yeah, that opens up the help page. So, yeah, there's been a lot of progress that's been made. Last time I did talk about wanting to take a break, maybe, and I did try to take a break, but it just didn't really happen, I guess. So, I you know, there's been a number of games. There's a number of games that I bought during the winter sale, you know, a few months ago, and actually I'd mostly been stuck playing Blue Reflections, the new game that came out. I've already talked about the great soundtrack for that game on a previous stream. And yeah, I'd been playing through that, and it's a long JRPG, and just wound up spending most of my winter and up until making this game just playing Blue Reflections, and then I was like, oh, I want to take a break, and I have these other games that I didn't play because I was caught up playing Blue Reflections or making this game. So I was like, oh, let me go play some of these other games, and that would be my break from this game. And well, it didn't happen. I did play a little bit. Let's see. I downloaded Scarlet Nexus here, and managed 3.7 hours. It's all right. I'm not like really into it just yet. But I don't know. I think it could be cool. I just got to play a little bit more of it. But it's like I'm always thinking about this fucking game and how to make it, what to do, making the game. So it's kind of that thing, is like, even when I don't want to think about the game, I can't help it. It's just, it happens. Like, something pops up in my head, like, oh, I could do this. Sometimes it's like what I can do to improve the game, but usually it's like whenever some sort of like problem is existing, like it's hard to move away from the game until I can solve that problem. And then usually solving that problem usually means taking time away from the problem. And so when I take time away from that problem, I find another problem, and then I find another problem. So I solve the previous problem, but now I have another problem that's cropped up. And it's like, it's basically the Sid Meier's just one more turn kind of thing, but not for playing a game, but actually making a game. And it's just like, I always have like, I know what the next step is of my plan, and so I just want to go ahead and do it rather than wait. And then by the time I execute that next step in the plan, I can still see the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step, and it just keeps going. And it's like, let me tell you, this happened with my previous game too, mind you. My sleep schedule gets fucking ruined, and it's like the only thing I can fucking do, even when I don't want to do it, is just make the game. So anyways, yeah, so last time we left off, I think I was showing off this level here, talking about some ideas within. I think I had implemented some very basic stuff. I think I'd like decorated maybe this section here. I had some general decorations extending over this way, but it was still kind of sparse. And then I only had one set of enemies implemented, but now I have enemies for here and here implemented as well. If you didn't see my previous stream, the reason why there's like 5 enemies grouped together like that is because it's the enemy scaling. And so only one of these will be present when the player is here, but each one of these represent a different rank, a different difficulty. So, yeah. Also, on that note, I didn't even put this in the title, but it was quite something significant that I had to work on is the lose conditions. Because I don't think I've talked about this on stream. Maybe I have, but there's not a game over scenario in my game. Instead, there's lose conditions. And basically, the way that works in this game, the lose conditions are when you lose, you're taken back to the town, our main town, our main hub here, and you lose some money. And that's basically the lose conditions. So it was kind of like Borderlands, where you have the new U stations, where when you die, it takes you back to the new U station, and a certain amount of your money is taken away. It's very similar to that. So I'd known that's how I wanted to do it since the beginning of this game, and the reason is that's the way that I wanted to handle it in my magnum opus. So it's kind of like this is like testing the waters, seeing how to implement that and how I would do it in the game. And yeah, so obviously I was able to get the player to transition back to the town and then lose the money, but there are different problems that cropped up with this when it came to like the gamification of it, I guess. Like it would feel really like the polish of it, right? Like it's easy to implement the player just popping up in town and losing some money, but to make it feel like a polished part of the game, there should be the transition from one map to the other map should be smooth, and the player should know how much money they lost, so there needs to be a little bit of dialogue to inform them about that. And then, so this actually created a problem where it's like, right now, I'm so early, because the lose conditions are here, you can see, are attached to every entity of the enemy, it would create a lot of work in the future if I ever decided to change this. So cross your fingers that there's no that I don't want to change this in the future, because the more and more enemies I put into the game, the more of a nightmare it's going to be to make changes to this. So this is another reason why I spent a long time working on this, is that I want to make sure that the implementation is the way that I want it. Also, I've talked about balance before, and part of the balance is also getting the economy right as well. And so right now, the general idea I have for the amount of money that players lose may be fine, but then once I start playing the game, I may realize that, oh, that's maybe too much money, or oh, that's not enough money. They need to lose more money when it happens. And so rather than having to go back through and change the amount of money attached to every single enemy, I had to come up with a system. And I'm sure people who are smart at programming would easily know, like, oh, I know how to easily set that up. But I'm not a programmer. I'm a fucking idiot when it comes to this kind of stuff. So this was a problem I had to kind of rack my brain for a while on, how can I make sure that it would be easy for me to adjust this value in the future. And fortunately, you can assign gold loss based on a variable. So now I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can set a variable to the amount that they lose, and then I can just make adjustments to that variable. So that's actually exactly what I've done. I have this right here, this event right here, which processes an ever-increasing list of things that need to be turned on when the player starts the game, and these will be set for the rest of the game. So it would be extremely problematic if somehow players manage to somehow skip this part of the game. Maybe there's some sort of RPG exploit that maybe some people might know, but I don't know. It'd be for speed, whatever. Who cares? If players were somehow able to skip the very intro scene, then they would skip the event that sets a bunch of different values that are used throughout the rest of the game. So, but whatever. This is the way that I found it. So basically, I just set a variable. It just set, here's the amount, and then those go into the different ranks. You can see gold loss, rank 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I can just go back through and change those numbers as I see fit. So it's basically like a public value that I'm able to access, but through this event here. So anyways, so I'm hoping that that makes changing the value that you lose when you die easier. So yeah, again, that was just something that I had implemented as well with the lose scenario. So you can see here, background music, background sounds fade out over 3 seconds. The character sprite changes to a damaged version of the sprite. Then the screen fades out. It does all the calculations and then transfers the player to the town. And then at the town, it's fairly short. Part of me wanted to make, like a long spiel about like, oh, I shouldn't have died and blah, 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 blah. But no, honestly, I think it's already punishment enough that, like, the players could be really far into the level, and then if they die, they're going to have to fucking walk all the way back there. So I'm not going to waste any more of the time. There's just a single line of dialogue that just basically says, this is how much money I lost. Which also became a problem in itself, is because, as you may have noticed, there are different ranks of gold loss for each rank of enemies. So how does the game know which, like, when the player comments, how does the comment being read out know which rank the player died to? The messy way of doing this is I could have just done a bunch of if statements saying, like, if the player is at this level, then they say this, and basically just kind of matching, like, I know that at level 3 the player is going to be on rank 2 enemies, so then the dialogue could just have text for rank 3 enemies, but that's a little bit messy. Instead I use variables, because you can tie variables into the dialogue. You can, like, when you write that variable into the dialogue, it just says the number that the variable is assigned currently. So if I remember it right here, yeah, so it controls, when you die, you lose the gold, and then controls another variable, which is, I've just called the in bill, and basically sets the in bill to whatever value it is that you lost. So say for example, our rank 1 gold loss is 50 gold. So you've lost 50 gold, and then it reports that number. It reports gold loss, rank 1, 50 gold, to another variable called in bill. So it's basically 2 variables. This is how much gold is lost. This is just this is just reporting what the gold was lost, if that makes sense. This is the actual loss of gold. This is just reporting the loss of gold. I think that's the best way to explain it that I can do. So anyways, so yeah, whatever the rank is, and each one of these, you can see, like, rank 2 reports to, where'd it go? Rank 2 reports to in bill, and then rank 3 reports to in bill, and rank 4 and rank 5, so on. So now when you die and you come back, there's a very short scene, and the player will comment with the variable in their speech tied to whatever in bill's value is set to. So that way, it's a very clean and efficient way of having the player just respond to however much gold they just lost from dying. So yeah, once again, proud of myself for figuring that one out. That was a head scratcher as a non-programmer, as a complete idiot to this kind of stuff. And yeah, so the loss mechanic, the lose conditions have been set. I've tested it out, and everything seems to work nicely and smoothly. And yeah, so I set that up, and then of course, like I said, just moving on to other things that I've worked on in this main area is, of course, like I said, I've put in more enemies here and have decorated more of this area, put in more details. One other thing that's probably already immediately noticeable to those who watched the previous stream is that last time I talked about wanting to create, having to modify my tile set to include a deep water tile. And obviously I've gone and done that. Now, so here's the problem is like I said, I'm limited to whatever I can fit on the sprite sheet here. There may be plugins or whatever that I can do to increase the size of the sprite sheet, but rather than do that, it's just I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's difficult to explain the process. The way that I'm thinking of it is that if I'm more picky with what I use, then I can. If I'm limited in my choices, then it'll be easier for me to make levels. If I have basically infinite choices, I'm going to be spending too much time trying to figure out what the perfect scenery objects are or whatever. And so just, having to implement the deep water actually meant having to remove some parts of the tile set that maybe I wanted to use. The deep water itself, so like, it's kind of interesting the way that RPG Maker does it. It's like you have, for animated tiles, you have like this set. This would be like tile set A, and then this is like your water tile set, and then it's kind of like you have B, C, and D, and B, C, and D are all tied to A. So B, C, and D are going to be like, for example, this deep water that I'm talking about here. So when it's tied to the A tile set, it won't erase the A tile set, but instead will overlay on top of it. And then C and D are some more things like these spiky rocks. Again, it doesn't erase the water, but instead lays on top of it. And again, with these other like ocean rocks as well, functions very similarly, where again, it's just lays on top of it. So if any of these tile sets are not in the B, C, or D group, then they act independently. They act as their own tile, which means if I were to place this deep water tile set on top of the water, it would instead erase the existing water and then put the deep water tile on top, which is a little bit of a problem because, as you'll notice, the tiles have a feathered edge around it, so that way there's a smooth transition from the shallow water to the deep water. So that obviously wouldn't work, because if it just erased the shallow water, then these shallow water edges around the deep water would all be transparent, and therefore in-game would just show up as black. So that's not going to work. So I had to figure that out. I had to make a few adjustments to my tile set, move stuff around. I've made some other changes to the tile set as well that maybe I'll talk about, or maybe not. It's not necessary to go over all this detail in the tile set, but yeah, just informing you guys about what's up. So anyways, yeah, so I did implement that as well. And yeah, so that pretty much covers this this beginning area here. I don't know if I did anything else in the south corridor. I think last time I'd already implemented the tutorial fight, so yeah, I don't think I really changed anything here. Yep. So anyways, so yeah, that's the main entering plaza here. So you'll come up. I haven't implemented the there'd be an intro cutscene, I guess you'd say, cinematic. It wouldn't be a cinematic, but story bit that would happen when you enter. That hasn't been implemented yet, just because I don't know. I felt like I should just build the level first and then add the story stuff later. So anyways, so that hasn't been implemented, so I'll need to come back to that at some point. So anyways, you'll come in through here. This save point won't be there. The only save point, because when you die, you always go back to town, and there's not really a game over state where you just like have to load the game again. Saving is not as important, so the only save point in the game is the town. So yeah, this save point is just there for debugging purposes. It allows me to keep a save file consistent, while also allowing me to skip certain parts of the game, like skip the tutorial and other stuff like that. So anyways, so yeah, you'll come here and then you can make your way down. This way is optional. There's the fight here. Whatever level you're at is which one of these guys you'll fight. And then there's a chest there. So that was already there last time. If we move over this way, then we will start to see some of the new decorations. I've already talked about the enemies here. So you can make your way. Your main goal is to keep going right. However, up this way there is an additional optional area that I haven't populated yet with the reward that I'd like to do. But I'm thinking that there will be a chest here with a mimic inside of it, and defeating the mimic will give you one of the pages. These pages are used to upgrade your character. So you need 4 of them to upgrade your character, but you'll get 1 here, and I will need to find the location for where I'm going to put the other 3 in this level. But yes, one of them will be here, I think. So then you'll make your way. There's a pretty tough challenge here with one of these guys. And then after that, here's the transition to the new map, the new part of this. So I talked about this last time. So I was talking about thinking maybe of moving into a forested area with a lake. And the lake would actually kind of be like a miniature representation of the big-ass sea over here to help players navigate this, because as you'll notice, and this is still with a zoomed-out perspective within the editor, when you're in the sea, it's not like in like, if you think of like Wind Waker, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, you're in a third-person camera. You can look forward, you can look ahead, and you can see the silhouette of a distant island on the horizon. That's not really available here when you're at a top-down perspective, which makes navigation a little bit more difficult. That was one of the reasons why I had made the deep water tile as well, as I can use the deep water tiles as sort of a subtle hint that you might be getting near another island. But even still, I don't think that's enough of a hint. It still would be pretty subtle, so there needs to be other ways to kind of try to inform players on how to navigate the sea, where it's not just like an uninteresting, unending sea of blue. So that's where this idea came. That's how this idea came up, which I had thought about last time, which is basically a lake, which is a miniature representation of the sea, where each one of these 3 islands sort of give you a rough idea of where the islands are located within the sea. And you'll see that there's a boat here that you'll be able to hop in, and your main goal is to go up here, which again is actually representative of the sea, because I imagine that the final boss's area is going to be at the northernmost part of the sea. So yeah, so this still is consistent with that idea. And also there are these little events here which are actually important, and you will need to go to these events, and so that also kind of like is using my teaching knowledge would be called priming you for what you need to do. So it's sort of like being primed for, you need to navigate to these islands and get off at the islands. Not get off, not that kind of get off, but you'll need to dismount your boat and explore the islands. That's what you need to do. So yes, players will need to go here to these islands. So as you can see, you will start by transitioning into here from the main area. Whoops, that's just the big, vast, empty sea. When transitioning from here, you will pop in over here. And your main goal is actually to just go up here. You may have noticed earlier that I have this section up here where the player is. So this is kind of where you're going to come out. We'll get to that in just a minute. So you will need to make your way that way. There's a area to jump across. Down here, we'll talk about these other areas in a minute, but let's just kind of navigate through the main part. So you'll make your way through these little narrows here. And then there's a chest here that just has a healing item in it. You will have, by this point, fought a lot of enemies, so having an extra healing item I figure would be helpful to the players. These also scale with your level as well. I did a very cheap and rudimentary way of doing this. So the healing items have 3 ranks in the game. The first rank heals, I don't know, I think it might be like 30%. Second rank is 50%, and I think the last rank is 70% of your health. However, rather with the last rank of the healing item being quite valuable, I just didn't put it in there, and instead the chest just checks if the player is a level 6 or higher, then they get the higher ranked item. If they're not level 6 or higher, then they get the lower rank item. So it's kind of a rudimentary but very simple way of implementing level scaling. Rather than doing 5 different versions of this chest, it's just like, if this, then that. Or if this, if this, then that. Otherwise, do this. So, yeah. So anyways, this right here is the hint for the puzzle in this area. I'll show it off. Not many people are watching these streams anyways, so I do have people who do watch the archives. And thanks, guys, for watching the archives. Of course everyone's watching the archives, because I stream at a weird fucking time. No one's gonna fucking join in the middle of these streams except for the spammers. So I will spoil the puzzle, but I don't think it's really that hard. So anyways, that puzzle will actually make this chest spawn here. This tablet here is the other thing that I talked about. I'm hoping with these 3 hints, the deep water and the miniature version of the sea, and finally this tablet, hopefully that's enough for your, what I'd call the default path for exploring the seas. This will give some hints on how to navigate the sea. The way I'm thinking of doing it is basically the hints will basically be in seconds, like timing yourself, holding left for so many seconds, and then holding down for so many seconds, and you'll find your way to the island. It wouldn't be so blunt, right? Like I would word it more in a cryptic kind of way, but hopefully you get the idea, is that I would be talking about a number of seconds, count the seconds, navigating from the default position of the boat to go to the first island, and so on and so forth. So that's what this would do. So between its hints, the miniature lake or miniature seas hints, and the deep water, hopefully people who are taking the default way of navigating the seas will be able to do it confidently. However, I did talk last time that there is going to be an additional option players will be able to access if they have done enough stuff within the community. So just a small little bonus to help them navigate the sea. So anyways, there is another area. I haven't actually put the transitions here, but I have set up the space. Like, it's not populated with, it's not decorated yet, which is why probably I haven't put the transitions to it yet. But I did at least create the world space for it. So I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with this area. It's just like, as I was like building out the path and decorating everything, it felt like I should put a diverging path here. So I did, but I'm not sure what I want to use it for. I'll figure it out at some point. So anyways, Navigating from there, you have some more enemies there, and then here is an obstacle. This obstacle is surprisingly satisfying to remove. I can't wait to show that off. I'll show it off shortly, but yeah, let's keep going with the walkthrough of what's been done. So yeah, more enemies. There's a chest down here. This one also scales, but this one doesn't give you healing items. This one gives you gold, and basically it does the same scaling thing. If you're under 6, you get this amount of gold. If you're over 6, you get this amount of gold. So there's a short little tutorial section here that just tells you about this torch, which is a healing torch. You touch it and your player is full healed. Now I thought about making it so it can only be used once for each time that you enter the level, because I don't really want players to find a grinding spot to basically just kill some enemies, walk back to the torch, touch the torch, kill some enemies. But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't really care. Honestly, if players want to do that, then it's fine. So, but I did think about setting it as... here's the other problem about setting it as once per entering the level. Is that it's kind of difficult to explain without maybe some players possibly becoming, like, misunderstanding what I'm saying. And I would be worried that maybe players might misunderstand the way that I would wind up wording it and think that it can only be used once. So it's just easier just to make it just used infinitely. So anyways, and then that's the transition. That's the area where you want to go as the player. So, and we'll get to that. Let's talk about these small rooms real fast. So the first one was down here. This one's been implemented. It's right here. It's a small room. And at this time, it has no purpose. I'm thinking of using this room for one of the story or one of the quests with one of the NPCs from the community. I don't want all the quests to just exist inside like the community bubble. I kind of want some of them to occasionally maybe go outside of the community, which kind of I feel like makes the world feel more connected. It's not like all the people are here and then all the rest of the world is like completely separate from the, like, no, it feels more connected if players, like, if some NPC events can happen outside of the city as well. And so I've left the space open. I kind of have some ideas for what kind of quest I would want to put here, so I think I'll do that. However, the way that it's done right now is that when you enter this zone, basically the player just makes a remark saying, the player character just makes a remark saying, it's raining right now, let's come back later when it's sunny. And that's basically going to be the hint. Although, see, I don't know. See, I kind of wanted this area to be like the final act of maybe an NPC's quests. But I think there will be some players who will want to come back here immediately after they've defeated the boss and cleared up the rain. In which case they'll come here and there's nothing and they'll be like, huh? So, I don't know. I'll figure it out when it's time to work on that. For now, it's just a pretty place. The other one, like I said, is this area. I wanted to implement another area where you could get another one of those pages that I was talking about that would upgrade your character. And I was thinking about putting it over this way. Now, the item that you get in this chest here is basically a key. You could consider it a key. It's not called a key, but it functions the same as a key. And so the problem I was having was that I wanted this new map, like I said, is totally unpopulated. I wanted this new map to require one of those keys, but it feels really clunky because here's the problem. So we're at this map, player just got the key, and they decide to go right. You need this key here to open this obstacle here. So if they decide to go right and use the key on this unpopulated map to get the item, then they don't have a key. Which basically means I need to make sure that they can get a key in this area, but they're already getting an item in this area. So basically I'm kind of doubling up what you get, and it just feels really clunky to have to do that. I don't like that idea of putting both a key and the main item, because I'm basically It's like you use the key to get in here, and then you get a key, which feels like you're adding a positive by a negative, which is canceling each other out. You're getting a 0 at the end. Feels kind of stupid. So I was trying to think, like, what can I do? Like, I don't know, can I make a puzzle? Maybe I could separate this room into 2 halves, but even then it's still a key in this room. It'd just be like a key on this half of the room and the item on this half of the room. It just doesn't, it doesn't make sense. So I don't know. One of the ideas that I had shortly before streaming was, maybe I could, this chest here right now is just money, and maybe I could change that money into actually being a key. But then my problem with that is that if they get the key here, we get to the rocky lake, and say they totally ignore this, the player totally ignores this, they don't understand what's happening here, they don't do any of that, they basically just take the boat and go straight here, they come up here, the chest hasn't spawned, they don't see anything, they just start following the path, and then they use the key here, and it's just like, now they've totally ignored an important puzzle. Like, this puzzle here is serving multiple functions. It's not just to spawn the key, it's also like teaching you how to navigate the fucking sea. So I don't know, it still feels kind of clunky to introduce the key early. Like, this is where I want the key for this level to be introduced, at this point. I don't want it to be introduced earlier. I want it to be introduced here. So it's kind of like, I don't fucking know, man. I don't know. One thing I did want to do is, and we'll get to this in just a minute, but the mid-boss, I wanted the mid-boss to be replayable. And so you could fight the mid-boss as many times as you want. And the reason why you'd want to do that is because he drops a key when you defeat him. And that way you could collect as many keys as you want for this level, and then you could basically take that key that he drops and come back over here and open up this area. That's how I want it to be done, is that you take the key that he drops and you can come over here and get another key. But here's the thing, I don't want people to feel like they need to grind the boss for keys. I really kind of want the replayability more for the sake of just people wanting to fight the boss again, and not for grinding it for keys to complete the level. I still want, at the most, the level should be 1 key short. That is the most, which means the player only needs to fight the boss 1 extra time to get the key. That is it. So I don't know. And the problem still exists, like, right now, is that even if that's the case, like, you fight the mid-boss and you get the key, that's fine. But you have to get there, and you already need 1 key to get there, right here, this obstacle. And again, if they had used this key in this area here, then they don't have a key to get through this obstacle. I don't know. Like, another idea I had, this was one of the first ideas I had, was like, similarly to this small room here, the player comes in, comments saying, oh, maybe I should come back later when the sun is out and when it stopped raining. Is I could implement the same thing for this area, just like prevent the player from progressing in this area until a later point. But that also feels kind of clunky to do, especially when, like, there's 2 extra rooms attached to this room, and one of those rooms is already saying the same thing. One room is already saying, oh, I should come back when it's not raining. So it feels clunky to have the other room attached to this area basically say the same thing, come back when it's not raining. Like, that also feels clunky. So it's like, I don't fucking know. So I don't know. Maybe I just need a standalone puzzle. Like, the puzzle would be the key. But I also don't know what to do with the puzzle. So I'm trying to avoid puzzles that are push the block puzzles, because I kind of use those a lot in my previous game. You should go play it. It's free. And I don't know, making them's not very fun. Players don't really have a lot of fun interacting with them. Like, I think they're fine. I don't want to I don't want anyone to misinterpret that. I've already had plans of using some block pushing puzzles in this game as well, but there's going to be few and far between because I think they still are good at breaking up the gameplay rather than just walking and just fighting monsters. You have one other activity that kind of breaks up all of that. And especially when I have, in my humble opinion, great background music going on. When I was playtesting this, it bothered me how often that my great background music was getting interrupted with the number of fights that I put. So I'm going to try to back off. I'm not going to change the number of fights that I've implemented so far into the level, but at this point going forward, I do think I want to back off on the number of fights. Also, I have to adjust my XP curve because my players started leveling up a little bit too quick. So, yeah. So, I think having something that's in the world where you get to do something and enjoy the wonderful background music that I've written, it's good, you know, like taking a break from all the fighting and getting to enjoy the music for a little bit, slowing down. So, like, I think block pushing puzzles are still fine. It's just that I did a lot of them, and I already planned to use them in my cave level, where it kind of makes sense too, because there should be boulders and stuff there. So, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of puzzle to put. Like this one right here already seemed like a stretch. I do have like you can see there's this area that I've kind of implemented. I have an idea of what to do with this tree and that, which is kind of a goofy puzzle. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with something. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you have any wacky, fun ideas for puzzles. You can't go too crazy with puzzles because I'm very limited in what I can do with my own knowledge and what I can do within RPG Maker. So, you know, it can't be something fucking insane, but, you know, within limits. Maybe I can implement that. So let's move on. We've talked enough about this area. So the next part is the midpoint, which is right here. And all this is just like another corridor, corridor, just like here. And so this is going to serve two purposes. First of all, of course, this is where the mid-boss fight is. Also, I just previously mentioned that I think the player's level was a little bit too fast, especially with the number of encounters that I had put. And so I talked about how previously all of the scaling calculations are done in the corridor, and that's it. And then like once you enter the level, like after the level is assigned to the enemy. Like, oh, the player is at this level, so the enemy needs to be this level. Once that calculation has been done in this corridor, that will not change for the rest of the time you're in the level. That becomes a problem when you start to overlevel the stuff. I know previously, last time I talked about this, is it's not the complete end of the world, because the way that their attack calculations are done is actually... their attack is calculated off of the player's level. So the attack damage is still relatively high. Like that won't really fall too far behind the player's level. What does start to fall behind is their health. And that's actually what I noticed was that even at level 2, honestly, which is why I had to do some rebalancing, see the title of the stream, even at level 2, you really start to kind of curb stomp the enemies. Like, yeah, they hit hard, but they don't even get a chance to hit. So, you know, it's like, okay, so maybe that's not really working very well. So, that's where this midpoint is going to serve its purpose, is that in addition to being the mid-boss place, it will also be another room to offload calculating the just doing any additional calculations. Like I talked about this last time, it's completely not necessary to offload the calculation to an entirely different room. I could definitely put it into the main seas area, right? Like I could put it here and there probably wouldn't be any major problem, but I feel more comfortable doing it this way. It for sure guarantees that there is not going to be any sort of problem at all. Like it's not going to cause any weird frame timing issues, which is what I got before when I was making my previous RPG Maker games, where if I had a bunch of parallel processes running at the exact same time, it's not that it's like if you look at a frame reporter, like it still says the game is reporting at 60 frames, but the player doesn't feel like they're moving at 60 frames. I do want to make a slight correction to that. I still sort of agree with that sentiment. However, I recently discovered that especially becomes true if you have something that is interacting with the actual player character sprite. So if a parallel process is doing whatever it is with the character sprite, I don't know what it is, but if it at all touches the character sprite, that's when it really for sure introduces that weird frame timing thing. Because basically it seems like for like a millisecond, it's got to calculate something, so it halts the player's movement to do that calculation and then lets the player move. So it just starts feeling really bad to play. Still, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to make sure that, despite this being, RPG Maker and it could practically run on a potato, I don't think there's anything wrong with me wanting to offset as many parallel calculations out of you see how huge this area is, right? Like pulling is making sure that as much stuff as possible is not running in this massive area is gonna really improve stuff. So pulling that stuff back and putting it somewhere else, consolidating it to another area, I think is gonna make I think is valuable. All right, that's what I'm trying to get at here. I think it's valuable to do that. So that's what this midpoint is also going to be, is for calculating that. Yeah, so you fight the boss, calculates your level, or recalculates your level, so that way when you enter the main area again, the enemies, if necessary, will have scaled up and now match your level. So yeah, and that leads you out here, which this is where I'm currently working right now, is populating this area. And this is going to be the road to the ship. So you want to get the ship to be able to navigate the seas. You can already see I've, just for my own reference, I've put these dots here, right here of sand, just to kind of remind me. This is the general area where the islands should go. And you'll see that it's fairly close to what I had done with the Rocky Lake, right? Like here, 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 and then we go back to here, and you can see it's here, here, and here. So it's fairly similar. So I think here is where I want to put the boat. So it's a little bit far south. Like if we look at the lake, the boat is almost directly in the middle between these and facing right at this island. And if we look here, it's a little bit south. It's not directly facing this island, and it's leaning a little bit closer towards this island here than this island. However, this is a long-ass fucking route to have to walk to get there. And before, you can see this little area, like this little bay, it kind of like points in like this. And there's a little line right here. This is where I originally wanted to put the boat. And that is way too far south. Like there is no room to put the southern island, because you'd put it here and it'd basically be butting right up against the cliff here. And then the northernmost island would have to be here, and then you'd have the other island here. or just about. Which basically means I think the boss would need to be here, otherwise the player is going to be traveling a long ass fucking way to get to the boss. So I don't think I'm going to use all of this space. I'll probably still cut it off, probably somewhere like along this line here. But still, like this from up here about feels a lot better having to navigate from here to there than having to navigate from like here to there in vertical northward distance. So yeah, so going back to what I was saying about not knowing what kind of puzzles to implement, and also not wanting to flood too many enemies, that becomes sort of a challenge of what the fuck do I do to make an interesting route from here to here? I don't know. And I guess I'll have to come up with that. So it's like we have three things the player can do. We have combat, or at least in combat encounters. Like you have combat, but like on the field itself, we have combat, or going around the enemy, whatever the player wants to do. We have puzzles, and then we have just walking. And doing too much of any one of those makes the game boring, in my opinion. So you need to break these activities up. Like you need to put enough of each of these in there. I think it should be all three of just walking, doing some combat, and maybe a puzzle. Like those all need to be in there. So I don't know what to do for the puzzle. I don't want it to all just be just walking. As I just said, too much of any one of those things, it's boring. So it needs to be broken up with other stuff. So I don't know. I guess I need to come up with another puzzle or something here. Also, I should mention, I guess kind of jumping sort of is in there. It is breaking up. Like you're not just holding D, holding right on the keyboard and just moving. Like you still, when you get to these points, you still have to press the spacebar to jump. But it's not I would count it like a midpoint of just walking. Like it's like still just walking, but it's a half step. It's a half step right in between these other two. So yeah, I don't know. Well, anyways, that's where I'm at so far with this game. And yeah, once I'm able to navigate up to here, make, whatever the path is up to this point, I'll make the islands. I'm thinking with the islands, they'll probably have a cave on them, each of them. Maybe one of them will just be a plain island. Maybe it won't have a cave. I don't know. I think each of them are going to have a cave on it. And so the player will go into the cave. There'll be a small room. It's not going to be like a long labyrinthian dungeon. It'll just be like a single small room, probably about the same size as this room, with either a combat challenge or a small puzzle for the player to solve. They solve it, and then they get the piece of one of the necessary items for wherever to open up the area to the boss. Once they go to all three islands and get all three items, then they can navigate to the boss, open the door to the boss, fight the boss, and that's level complete. And so I would say I'm probably about halfway done, maybe a little bit less than halfway done, but definitely getting close. There's still a lot more work that still needs to be done as well. Like after I've decorated everything and like put the path and figured out how, the player moves from start to boss. Like that's not everything. I already talked about how I need to do the like little intro scene when the player first arrives. I need to put the hints at here at this tablet. There's a bonus area. There's actually a few bonus areas I wanted to kind of hide in the seas themselves. Because I don't want it to just be these necessary islands, but also some bonuses for people who wish to navigate, or those who have the map. And then also, this beach over here, I'm not going to use all of it, God no, but I do want to use a small portion of it for a secret. for a secret. Which you'd have to... I'm not even going to explain how, because I'm going to say it's probably going to be one of the most convoluted secrets. We'll see if I even implement it in the end, because it's not just convoluted for the players to do, but convoluted for me to implement. At the very least, I do plan on using this beach at least somewhat. If I don't use it for my planned secret, then I might just put a bridge or something here for players, and then there might just be an extra item or something over there. I do want to use a small part of this beach, but then I think the rest of it I'll probably just cut it off with another cliff that the player can't climb up, and decorate it just enough to be convincing, and that'll be that. I also need to cut off the sea wherever it needs to be cut off at, because obviously I don't want the players, like, there's no reason to explore all of this. Like I said, I think the boss will probably be up here abouts, which means I need to make sure that I cut off anything past the boss area. So yeah, so there's still a lot to do, but I am happy with the progress I am making on this. I feel like maybe, I don't want to promise anything, but maybe by next weekend, if I keep this pace going, bearing in mind I did mention that I kind of did want to take a break. I know that didn't happen, but maybe my mind will change this week. Who knows? But keeping the pace that I have, it may be possible for me to have reached the end of the level. Like, I don't think the whole level will be finished, but at least all the decorations and plates and the tiles and all that stuff will be up to the end of the level at that point. I do think that might be possible. So enough talking. Let's do a quick playthrough of this, and I can show off some of the rebalancing. So I think I have a save here. I'll tell you what, let's just do this one. Ah, you know what? The volume's really low, because normally when I'm making the game, I don't really like the volume up very loud. Well, let's make sure you guys can hear it. There we are. Actually, normally when I'm recently, when I've been working on the game, I haven't been using my headphones because my wire to it keeps like slapping shit on my desk or whatever. Also, actually, that's one reason that annoys me, but also my fucking foobar. I know I use foobar to play the music for you guys, like at the start of the stream, but it will not register my library. I fucked with this for longer than I care to admit to get my library of music to show up here, and it just won't. I don't know why. And so I don't really have anywhere that has playlists set up, so I have to use my phone. So I've been mostly just like working on the game with my headphones in, or my earphones in, rather than my headphones, so I don't have to deal with the wire slapping shit, and I have my whole playlist here. A playlist I put a lot of work into, so I'm glad I get to listen to it. So this is the tutorial fight. I showed it off last time, so I'll just kind of skip through it. So there's one small change I do want to talk about as well here. So last time I talked about, it's going to pop up with the tutorial. So last time I talked about the healing spell, and it gives you this this state. And basically what this state was originally is, I said that it's probably not going to be very useful. I don't imagine players like working towards wanting to stack it too much, and that's still somewhat kind of the case, But I did come up with, I think, what is a pretty good idea that integrates well with the mechanics of the game. That makes this state more useful. Now it has just a small percentage of state resistance, because the way that it works in this game is that the states that you can apply to the enemies can also be applied to the player. So by stacking this, it's a small percentage with one stack, but each stack that you get increases your state resistance. So if you had like a bunch of stacks of, I think it's just called healthy, a bunch of healthy stacks, you become more and more resistant to enemy states. So yeah, I like that change. I thought that was a pretty good idea. So anyways, it also has health regeneration on it as well. So still has that. It's pretty useful. The reason why I think the health regeneration is not as useful is, first of all, it's a very small percent that regenerates each time, and second of all, not including the slime, because the slime has no elemental attacks, but most of the elemental attacks in the game will remove all states from the player. So it's like, for regeneration to be effective, it kind of needs to be, first of all, you need to have many stacks of it, because the base percentage is very, very tiny. That's not going to do a lot. So you need to have 5 stacks. Getting 5 stacks is already going to be difficult. And then, with most enemies having elemental stacks, they're going to clear those stacks pretty quickly. Elemental attacks. Most enemies have elemental attacks, so they will be able to clear your stacks very quickly, which makes it difficult to get 5 stacks, and also means you won't have those stacks for very long. So the health regeneration is not very valuable. So that's where the state resistance becomes probably more valuable than the health regeneration. There we go. Cured. Wow, I cannot talk. Killed the slime. That's the tutorial. So here's the save. The boat's here too. I just realized it shouldn't be there. That's gonna have to be I know why it's there, and that's a bug that I need to fix. So, the reason why it's there is that, the way that I want to set the boat is like, at the start of the game, at the start of the level, the boat is at its default position. But then, whenever the player re-enters the level after they've acquired the boat, it should spawn. Oh, that's not right. I'm just kidding. No, I think I've purposely put it there for testing purposes. There is a small, it's not a bug. I've just assigned it to that position. Basically, there's a little calculation that's happening in the background that is meant for the first time you've entered the level. Whenever you just enter the level, like pass through that corridor, going from the town through the corridor into the level, the first time you do that, it resets the boat back to its starting position. And that's just for in case the player has died. If they die on the island, then the boat would be at the island, but the player would be back at town, and so it would be impossible for the player to get back to their boat. So basically, when you're passing through the corridor into the level, there is a process that happens that resets the boat back to its starting position. However, I've assigned that starting position to be at the front of the level, and that was just for debugging purposes. I will need to change that assignment to its default position once I've actually created the default position. I was gonna wait until I got to the mid-boss to talk about this. I don't really have much to say about this fight though, so... I had to make an adjustment to the way... So, annoyingly, I didn't actually... It's not even making an adjustment. It is making an adjustment, but it's because I didn't know that, how intertwined the luck stat is in RPG Maker to, like, the percentages of... Well, to basically anything that's based on percentage of success. Which is really annoying. I actually don't really want to use the luck stat. I'm sure there's a plugin somewhere that I can remove stats in calculations, because there's actually a few stats I don't want to use. I think there's only 4 important stats that I wanted to use with this game, which is going to be max H... 5 then? Might be 5. 5 stats. Max HP, max MP, attack, magic attack, and defense. Unfortunately, there's also magic defense. I don't really want to use magic defense because defense is good enough for what I'm doing in this game. And, next, also luck. I didn't really want to use luck. This is not that kind of game where luck is necessary. So it was kind of annoying to find out that I had assigned a low luck value. Here's the other thing that... Okay, I'll get into that. No, I'm sorry. I'm about to go off on a tangent, but no. I'll restrain myself. I don't really want to use luck, but unfortunately it does have a lot of effect on the ability to apply the status, the states, to stack states onto enemies. Luck is tied into that. I don't want it to be, but because anything in this game that is tied to percent chance of success, which is basically how it calculates how to apply the states to enemies, means it's tied to luck, which is unfortunate, because I don't really want it to be tied to luck. The other thing is, it's more of an aesthetic choice. It's not super important, but it annoys me as well that for high luck, you have to have a stat of 500, or like basically above 250. My point is it's in the hundreds. As you may have noticed, my game uses small numbers, so it's really annoying to have, like, you know, 20 HP, 25 con P, 3 attack, 4 magic attack, 2 defense, and then 200 luck. Like, it just, aesthetically, like, it's not consistent with everything else. So it's really annoying, but unfortunately, that's how, like, it seems like I was playing around with this, and what it looks like to me is that anything, there's 500 luck points total. 500 is the max. And so basically, anything below 250 is bad luck, which means your percent chance of success will succeed less than as expected. And then anything above 250% or 250 points means a higher chance of success, which means, well, a higher chance of success. So basically, if these skills are set to 30% chance of success, our mind says 1 out of 3 times we should be able to apply the state to the enemy. And when I was playing this game, I was getting really annoyed because it felt like it was really unsatisfying, actually. It was really aggravating, and it felt punishing, I guess, where it's like, in my head I'm saying, this state needs to be applied way more often than it's being applied. And then it's not just that it wasn't that it's a bad percentage. And technically, these 30%, like, I just used round numbers there. I took a note out of the XCOM developers book where the numbers that they actually tell the player are not correct. The actual calculations in the background are usually higher because players, the psychology in their head is saying, if it's 50%, that means, like, when you see anything above 50%, you're thinking that needs to be more than half the time. That's really how they see it. So rather than, if something says 60% chance of success in XCOM, it would actually be like 65 or 70% chance would be the reality of it. And that's actually what's being applied here. And knowing that, and then having a lot of shitty luck trying to apply status effects to these enemies, it sucked, man. It felt like these mechanics are not working, and it kind of made me not like the game. So I had to, like, investigate why the fuck that was happening. And that's when I did a bunch of testing with luck to see if that affects the stats. And sure enough, when I bumped luck up to 500, the max value, it basically became 100% of the time I was able to apply the state to enemies. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, that could have just killed me. I think I'm safe. So yeah, that's annoying. It's really annoying. So, I don't know, maybe I can look into plugins that might fix that, but it's also kind of like, I've solved it now, and the nice thing is about luck, even if the numbers are stupidly high, I've now been able to implement that into leveling, so like, now at level 1, your luck is below 250, but it's still, I think it's 200, so it's still close to hitting 250, the actual, like, remember at 250, 30% should be 30%. So it's a little bit below 250. So you'll be hitting a little bit less than the expected 30%. But then as you level up, you should find more and more success. So, like, that's nice. Like, now the chance of applying states actually increases as you level up. I kind of wanted to implement that too, but I was going to go about it in a much more complicated way, like a really messy way of basically at certain levels the player would effectively, as far as the player would see it, is that their skills have just leveled up in success. Like, you look at Blustery Day, and effectively what the player would see is that Blustery Day is just now more effective. But the way that I would actually implement that into the game is that the game would delete the original Blustery Day from the player's skill and then add on a new version of Blustery Day that has a higher percent chance. And that's messy. My database of skills would just get flooded with like multiple copies of the same spell with slight changes in their stats, and I think that's really just messy. So, you know, it's kind of nice that like I can now use luck to fix that. It's annoying that the values have to be so high, but whatever. I'll make it work, which is why I don't know if I'm going to bother with plugins. It's just something I have to deal with. Just like I have to deal with the fact that magic defense is going to exist in this game and never get used. I've gone ahead and applied a curve to your magic attack, so like your magic attack, or not magic attack, your magic defense does level up with you. The thing is that no enemy's attack calculations account for your magic defense, so it does nothing. And it's just gonna be in the game because RPG Maker won't let me delete that from the fucking stats. So it's fucking stupid, but fine, whatever. Maybe if I decide to sell the game, maybe I'll decide to put the polish into removing that stat. As it is with the limited scope project that might just be, you know, put up for free. I don't know if it's necessary. Fuck it. Ignore it. I should mention, I've been talking through these fights, which makes them feel a lot longer. Fights aren't normally this long. They are kind of long, and I may make adjustments to the length of fight, but I do just want to go on the record here and say fights are not normally this long. It's just been because I've been talking more than actually fighting. There we are, level 2. So yeah, here's the rocky lake. And I can show off the small room to the south here. You'll just see. That's it. You can jump across if you want. There's nothing here right now, but you know, players can explore if they so choose. But right now there's nothing here. Just leave. So you'll see, since I've leveled up, now I'm able to kill that one enemy in one hit. So this is what I was talking about, is that, yeah, kind of as you level up, like one level makes a huge difference. At least for the little rat guy. These jellies, I think, like, at level 2, this jelly has the right amount of health. Maybe a little bit fast, but I don't know. I'll have to play around with the balancing some more. I have balanced a bunch of numbers, though. Actually, what I wound up doing is I had noticed that scaling happened way too quickly. So, like, at level 1, you'd be hitting, like, 4 damage, and then level 2 was, like, 8 damage, and then 16, and then 32, and it's just, like, the amount of damage that you're hitting, like, scaled way too fast. So, actually, what I wound up doing is adjusting the balance of the game, and I copied the scaling from my previous game. Go check it out, it's free on itch.io. I just copied the same scaling. Now, that game only went up to a max level of... Actually, later I changed it to 6, but it was originally at just 5. And I made, like, I set the initial values in this game are a little bit higher. Like, in the previous game, your starting health was 12. In this game, your starting health is 20. So, you know, you start with the higher initial values, but the actual scaling is otherwise the same as the previous game. And I kept the same rules, so even though the previous game went up to 5, if it was like just a linear increase of 1 point each level for whatever it is, attack or defense or whatever, I followed the same rules up to the max level in this game, which is 10. So, yeah! I rebalanced a lot of the game just by copying the previous game. making our way there. So here's the chest. You get the item. Here's the tablet. Alright, there's a dad joke here. I like this dad joke. So the tablet says, ford the lake and stand where the sand is dry. Afford the lake? I don't think I can. Stupid. So stupid. I like my dad jokes. There's a lot of dad jokes throughout this game. And they've all made me laugh. So anyways, so it said stand where the sand is dry. So standing here, nope, that's not correct. But if you go here, there you go. There's a little, you know, like animation to like feedback. There's feedback to tell you that's the right thing. And then I learned a cool camera trick in RPG Maker. Watch this. And for anyone, for anyone at all, they're probably wondering, what was the cool camera trick there? The cool camera trick was the cut. So, in my previous game, anytime I wanted to show something that was happening away from the player, I have to use the scroll map, I think is what it's called, but I always thought of it as scroll camera. Scroll camera thing, which basically move the camera over to it. There's two problems with this. First of all, it can only move in a linear direction. So I can only tell it to move left or right, or up or down. There's no diagonal. So it would be like, if I wanted to go diagonal, it would be up and then left, and then up and then left, and then up. It's stupid. So that's one problem. The other problem is if something was really far away from the player, I would have to scroll really far, and even at the highest speed for the camera scrolling, it would still take a long time for the camera to scroll all the way there, look at the event that happens, and then scroll all the way back to the player. So what happened in this is I cut the camera from the player over to where the object is spawning, and then back to the player. And that is a lie. It is not cutting away from the player and then over to the object and back to the player. That is incorrect. What it is doing... So I learned a trick, right? Actually, seeing as how this was done, you saw the fade out, and now it's made me realize I think a lot of games did this trick. I don't think I'm wholly original in this. I'm sure a lot of people have done this, and I think a lot of games in the past have done this same kind of trick as well. The camera is tied, as you'll notice, where the player is always dead center in the camera. So I use this to my advantage. And the reason why it fades out is it fades out, turns the player character invisible, moves the player right on top of the chest, fades the screen back in, and oh, it looks like the camera just cut to where the chest is, even though actually what I've done is I've moved the player there. And then, so what it does is it saves the player's location. Here's how the logic works. Fades to black, saves the player's current location through 3 different variables. And then it moves the player to where the chest is. Fades back in, shows the whole animation of the chest spawning, and then it fades out again, and then returns the player to that saved location, fades back in, or makes the player visible again, and then fades back in. Those 3 variables, it's really kind of annoying, is it's an X and a Y value. That makes sense, totally understand that one. The 3rd variable is the map ID, which is stupid. Considering that RPG Maker has this like point to program kind of thing, or click to program kind of thing, it's kind of annoying that that they would make you assign the map ID to a variable. Like I easily feel like in their little point or click to program kind of setup, they could easily make it so that you could just assign the map. Like, click here, here's a list of your maps, which map do you want to assign to the player's location? Oh, this map. You know, but whatever, doesn't matter. That's how it works. Is the map ID is assigned to a variable, so saves the map ID, saves the player's X, saves the player's Y, and then that's the player's location. Moves the player, blah 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 blah, moves the player back to the saved location. The reason why I say I think a lot of games have done that, it's the fade out and fade back in kind of thing. I couldn't name any game off the top of my head that's done that, but I feel like I've seen that a lot, especially like in older like DX9 kind of games, like PlayStation 2 and so forth, where I feel like they also, it's probably a lot of hassle, if I had to guess, it's a lot of hassle to program camera movements, and it's so much easier if the camera is already tied to the player, that it's so much easier to just basically fade the screen out, make the player character invisible, teleport the characters to wherever you need the camera to be, and then teleport them back. But Gauntlet comes to mind? Maybe Gauntlet did that as well. I feel like in Gauntlet, like Dark Legacy and Seven Sorrows, I think that was the one on the 360. I feel like whenever it would need to move the camera to a different location, I always feel like, if I remember correctly, it always did the fade out kind of thing, and then fade back in, and the camera would be cut to a different location. Anyways, yeah, so here's what I was talking about. I just got the key. I kind of talked through when I picked it up. It's called a lightning rod, and so here's the really satisfying part. Let me just show you. That's it. Why is that so satisfying? I don't know the reason why. I think it's just because it's so snappy. You press space on it, the lightning comes down, it's gone. There's no talking, no nothing. It's just bam, done. And also the animation is, I guess, nice. It's one of the default animations in the game, but whatever. It does the job, and I think that's what kind of makes it so, so exciting, so fulfilling. So what's the word? I don't know. I skipped that fight because you've heard me talk through enough fights now and whatever, so. Here's the torch I was talking about, so heals you up, and then... Fuck! I forgot. No! Damn my debugging! Well, shit. Fuck. Alright. Is there a level up thing? Yeah, there is. Alright. We need to close this out. I forgot to... all of this was to show the fucking boss, and I didn't even fucking turn him on. Let's fucking turn him on, and then... Don't worry, I can get back there quickly. We'll just continue. Oh shit. I think this one will be fine. This is why... Damn it. Okay. Let's go to the tutorial. Just turn off the tutorial real fast. Okay. Let's try this again. Alright, so there is a level up button. Because I had mentioned this before, it's the crystals over here. So I'm just gonna jump my player level up to, I think this is 3. Yeah, so it's actually a little bit higher than where I was, but that's fine. And then I'm just gonna beeline it. Yeah, beeline it to the boss. I don't need to do any of the fights, and fortunately in this game, unlike my previous game, go check it out, it's actually possible to avoid the fights. So, and also I've left the dash mechanic on. I'm probably going to turn the sprint, it's called dashing, but I'm probably going to turn it off in the final game. It's just, I don't know, I don't like the dash mechanic. It's I don't know. Basically it's just I don't give a fuck about your game. Your game is too long. I'm just gonna sprint haul ass through it. You know. I don't know. It's like I pace the game for a specific speed, and then when you dash, it's just it kind of breaks shit. I forgot I still have to do the puzzle. I don't know. It's maybe the fucking like gatekeeper in me who says, no, fucker, if you're gonna play my game, you're gonna play my game at my speed. You know, I give you lots of options. I give you the option to go to whatever level you want at the beginning of the game. I give you the option to, you know, the enemies scale, and you can choose what you get to level up each time. To not necessarily, but anyways, I've given players a lot of choices, so it's like, bear with me on this one. I'm not going to give you the choice on how fast you get to move. Sorry. It's the fucking gatekeeper in me. Not fucking deal with it. But I'm gonna use it while I'm debugging. Sure, I'll get the money too. I don't know what's the point, but whatever. I'll use it anyways, although I don't think I needed to. Alright, here's the boss fight. There's another dad joke in here. Sort of a dad joke. It's a programmer's joke, and it's like Borderlands tier humor. It's like, it's not gonna be funny to, like, even the people who get the joke aren't gonna find it funny. It's really only something that I think I can find funny, and I've definitely laughed about. I'm not gonna explain it, but I'm gonna give you some time to get it. Alright, read the name, read the dialogue. Moving on. Alright, so here's the mid-boss. And allow me to explain the mechanics here. Because he's a mid-boss, it's not really complicated stuff. I've had some trouble getting his logic to work correctly too, so I don't know if there's really a deep mechanic because the logic is not working the way that I want it to. Basically, every 5 turns, he's going to use a skill. And that skill is going to make it very, very difficult for the player to deal damage to him. The player needs to know what these secondary effects are of their skills to figure out how to get through that. And the correct answer is you can apply a damage over time, which totally doesn't care about what his damage reduction is. So you're basically trying to deal damage to him by applying damage over time stacks. That's the mechanic. Also, here's that new song I worked on. I think he's gonna do it this turn. He should. He didn't. I might not have counted the turns correctly in my head, but I think he's just not doing it. And this is what I was saying, is I can't seem to get the logic to work. I gave it high priority. I don't know why he won't use it consistently. Why doesn't he fucking use it? He hasn't used it at all. Why? So yeah, there's only one version of him right now. I haven't done the other ranks, and it's partly because of this. There's no reason to do multiple ranks because when I copy and paste those ranks, if I have to make changes to one, then I'm going to wind up having to make changes to all of them. So I want to make sure that rank 1 works properly first, and then I'll do the other ranks. So technically, since I'm level 3, this version of him is actually a little bit too low. But whatever, it's fine. He's not even doing his fucking attack. Use the skill, you jackass! Okay, alright. Defeated him and he never used the skill. Cool. So see, you can see that you get the lightning rod from him as well. So, yeah. You'll be able to come back here at a later point and refight him as many times as you want. I'm thinking about just putting him in the water, and you can just interact with the water and he'll pop out. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know why his logic didn't work. He never used his fucking attack. But anyways, now you're up here. See, down there's the area that you were at before, and there's these sparkles here. If I had a rope, I might be able to climb down. So yeah, there's a shortcut that I'm gonna implement as well. I just haven't added the item yet. I think I'll put that item in the other room over this way. I don't even know why. Oh yeah, that's for debugging. You'll keep repeating the tutorial. That's only for debugging. It's already set to not do that. It's only, like I said, only for debugging that it does that. That's not for debugging. That needs to be fixed. It should be gone. Ah. Alright, then I can't show you. Not here. Just close the fucking game. Go to here. In this area, this one, I'll probably put the rope here, and then the player can use this rope when they get to this section right here. They can use the rope and then create a shortcut. So anyways, yeah, so that's all of the progress. I'm glad I was able to talk shit for the past hour and 40 minutes. I'm getting pretty good at just talking, man. So hopefully this week I'll make a lot of progress if I'm not going to take a break. However, if I do take a break, then maybe there won't be as much progress. So we'll have to see. I do have a lot of things that I do need to take care of that have been kind of neglected by the amount of time I've been working on this that I need to do, and I've already told myself that Sunday's going to be the day that I at least tackle some of that. So hopefully that's the case. Yeah. So we'll see. Because I have that stuff that I need to take care of. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that because it's other stuff that's not related to the game. Then since I won't be working on the game, that also, again, because I'm busy with something else, maybe I just won't have as much completed. So we'll have to see. So anyways, that's gonna have to do it for this stream. Thank you guys who come into the archives and watch these streams and the archive. That's mostly what I do these things for. It's kind of like if I stream it live, I get an excuse for why it's not edited. And which means I get to do these way more faster because I hate editing. But I don't really expect anyone to join during the live stream. I haven't quite figured out my schedule yet. I talked a couple of streams ago about possibly changing my schedule, where maybe I'll start streaming in the daytime, where it might actually be easier for some people to join. That's still pending. I haven't forgotten about that. I just haven't been in a position to know what my schedule will be like. Or I'll know what my schedule will be like for the next few months, where I'd be able to commit to a different time to stream. There's also still the debate that I have with myself of, there's something I find kind of relaxing. That doesn't feel like the right word either, but it's a routine. Like I get to cap off my week with this stream in the evening. Like tomorrow is Sunday, that's the beginning of the next week. So, it feels like it's a good cap to the end of the week to put it in the evening. So I don't know. Again, the schedule change might not happen at all. We'll see. But anyways, like I said, that's it for this stream. Thanks for watching the archive, and I'll see you guys next week.